Su nombre es Jake Bryan. Él es un entusiasta del Internet, es programador y también le gusta estar en el mundo de los bitcoins. Nos va a platicar ahorita un poco sobre lo que son las criptomonedas. Y bueno, pues vamos a entrevistarlo en inglés. Después haré yo la traducción. Y vamos a empezar haciéndole unas preguntas sobre las criptomonedas. Okay, welcome, Jake. I appreciate your time and being here with us. And we will talk this afternoon about the cryptocurrencies. And the first question that I have for you is, what are the cryptocurrencies? We have heard a lot about Bitcoin, about Dash, about Ethereum. And could you explain to us what are these?
Okay. The cryptocurrencies you described are different, but they have these things in common. They're digital, decentralized, cryptographically secured, and consensus driven. So let's break that down. It's digital, so it's all computer driven. It's all based on the internet. There's no physical place where you can hold a Bitcoin. So it's all built by computers and mathematics, and it's able to do consensus-driven algorithms. So where it's highly distributed, so it's decentralized type system. So that brings us into the second point. It's decentralized. So the only way that a major new version of Bitcoin can be accepted is if it has consensus of the network. So what do I mean by the network? The network are people who secure the network, such as miners through proof of work, anti-spam algorithms, and then also people who host full nodes, which is a full copy of the cryptocurrency ledger. So there's that. There's decentralized. 3, it's cryptographically secured. So let's say August here has some Bitcoins, and the only reason he can access them is because he has a private key. That private key has one-way encryption to go to a public key, and then it goes one-way encryption again to a address. So it's a lot more obfuscated who actually owns it. And what happens here is it's very hard to go one way to an address. It's nearly impossible to go the other way. So there are more atoms in the universe than there are possibilities of numbers and private keys. So it's very, very hard for anyone. It's almost impossible. I mean, it would take you over 200 years with all the world computing power just to solve and figure out someone's private keys. In the meantime, they could just change them like underwear. So, and it's consensus driven. So I've already talked about that, but let me also describe one thing that I forgot that you need to understand. Bitcoin is basically a ledger. It's a two-way entry system. All transactions go out and all transactions go in. The only time when transactions just go out is when it's created through inflation, which is called the block reward. We'll get to that later. So everything is in and out. Everything is traceable up to the point of its creation through inflation. It's pseudo-anonymous. It's not completely anonymous, because if let's say I give August some money for food and I pay him with Dash, he can track the movement of my Dash throughout the whole blockchain then, because he can go back through the transactions outs and follow the transaction ins up to his transaction I give to him, and all the following transactions I give to other people. So that's what Bitcoin is. It's decentralized, it's digital, it's cryptographically secured, it's a two-entry ledger system, and it's consensus driven, and it's all across the world. So not one country can stop it. And if you want to get down to what Ethereum is versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin is basically a really, really good application for money, whereas Ethereum is more like a general purpose program for engineering a blockchain itself. So Ethereum is quite different. It doesn't just have a simple transaction. You need to fill out this huge block of information, objective information, in order to just send a transaction. But you can do a lot more things with it. Like you can create a decentralized autonomous organization with it. So it has a lot more uses. However, it's not as thoroughly tested as Bitcoin is.
Okay, great.
So,
Jake. And what about Dash? Can you tell us a little bit about what is Dash?
okay. Dash is a fork of Bitcoin. So what that means is they copied Bitcoin's code, but they have made some significant modifications since then. One of them is they've reduced the time of, I just want to talk about that. The significant differences between Dash and Bitcoin. The major one is the block reward. So how inflation is generated. So inflation is generated through, usually in Bitcoin, it's 100% of the mining rewards goes to the miners. However, in Dash, 45% of the mining reward goes to the miners. The other 45% goes to these people called the masternodes. We'll talk about that later. And 10% goes to the treasury for future development of the cryptocurrency itself. So why is that so important? What it does is it gives the community and the cryptocurrency itself built-in governance mechanism, so you can further develop and basically take the currency forward and better develop it and make it more competitive against Bitcoin and Litecoin and all these other cryptocurrencies. So that's what the treasury does. And the people who vote on this are the masternodes. What those are basically collateralized full nodes. So what I mean by that is they have 1,000 Dash. What they do is they hold it up, they don't use it, and they run a full node as a service for the network. And they basically get part of the mining reward for that. They provide such services as a blockchain up in the cloud, so you can check it and make sure it's verifiable. They provide instant send, which is another feature we'll come back to later, and private send. And it's you generally get 8 to 10% of your investment back per year if you hold it up in a masternode. However, what's so great about it compared to mining is you can just take your money out of it whenever you want. So you don't actually lose any money. All you do is tie it up somewhere and you keep it secure. And that's basically how a masternode works. Now, two of the other features I talked about that are really important for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general is the fact that you can do an instant send of a transaction. What that means is the masternodes hold up the coins that you put up in collateral as to make sure that the transaction goes through. So the transaction locks in after 2 seconds that you make it, whereas in Bitcoin, it would take 10 minutes to have a confirmation, and usually you would want 6 confirmations to make sure that the block is not going to change at all. To make sure the transaction doesn't change at all. Whereas in Dash, it's only 2.5 minutes, but still it saves you, the 15 minutes that it would normally take to have 6 confirmations. So that's what instant send is. And then private send is basically a coin join, and it basically obfuscates your Dash. Some people label it as a money mixer or kind of like a cleaner, a washing machine for your money. So people don't actually know where your money came from. So it's actually like having digital cash on you, which is the whole point of Dash, digital cash. And it basically makes it so where no one can know where that money came from. And that's what's so great about it.
Wow, great, Jake.
Yeah.
I remember when you recommended me Dash to buy Dash in March.
Right.
And it was like $30. And now it's almost $200, right? So
yeah, it's gone up way big in price because people have seen that instant send, governance, things get solved quickly, and private send are such important functions to a currency.
Great. At the end, we will talk a little bit about what do you think of the future prices of these coins. you want to give us your
Okay.
forecast by the end of the year. Okay, my next question, Jake, is what are the potential uses of this technology in our society? How do you see
Okay.
the world with this technology in our world?
Right. So with the advent of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, what it's given the ability to, especially for developing countries, is that everyone who has a cell phone is officially their own bank. So you don't no longer need an ID or anything like that in order to get money, send it electronically over the internet to anyone in the world. All you need is a phone and an application. And that's the greatest thing we have right now, because it gives our free speech back to money. Because you need to understand, money is the communication of value. I value the service or product that you give to me. I'm showing you that value by giving you this money. Money is ultimately free speech. So Bitcoin is the ultimate free speech of money. So that's the number one application. Two, there's a whole lot of applications. And when you have a general purpose blockchain like Ethereum does, you can do a lot of different things. You can make self-autonomous bots that can spend money and accept money from people. For instance, let's say you're producing solar energy on your house and you want to get paid for it from your electricity company. So your electricity company is able to read the amount you put out, and you send a message, hey, I sent out this electricity, and it agrees with you. There's some coordination, collaboration. And then it says, okay, here's the money you get. So it sends you a transaction. So you actually get that money to your address, and it can do that autonomously. So those are some of that's one application to it. Another application is for general public knowledge of something. So for instance, my cousin's a near organic pig farmer. And so it'd be nice for her if she could trace the lineage of her animals, show them the type of food she's eating, all within the blockchain, so people can trust that it's good organic meat, it's clean, it's high quality meat, rather than needing some type of third party non-GMO group, or the USDA organics group. So that's one idea. That's another example of what you could do with it. Another example is a land registry. This issue became large subject during the Haiti hurricane that completely destroyed everything there, including their land registry. We only know about 6% of the land and who it is owned by. And that was one of the major reasons why the Red Cross couldn't actually build people houses, because they didn't know who actually owned the land. So that's another use case. However, I have a book here. Let me go get it real quick. Called The Blockchain Revolution. It's by Don Tapscott and Alex Tapscott, and he basically goes through 8 different sectors of the economy that would be affected positively by a generalized blockchain. So you can do the internet ledger of things. That's one of the things Slockit is trying to do, and basically make it autonomous, like bike sharing service, Airbnb, type of things like that. So there's a lot into it, but once you realize that once you think about your application and say, will it benefit from a public ledger of trust of transactions, that's when you know you'll need a blockchain. But for the most part, we really don't need it that much right now.
Well, that's great. We are, at least here in Mexico, we are new to these cryptocurrencies. I started following the Bitcoin issue like maybe 5 years ago, and I wanted to buy some Bitcoins, and I couldn't because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what application, it was hard.
Right.
And at that time, the price was $180. I remember perfectly. And then it went to 340.
Right.
I need to invest in Bitcoins.
Right.
I couldn't do it. until I went to this the Jeff Berwick in Acapulco. That's where we met, and I finally
Right.
could buy a Bitcoin, and it was $1,100 or $1,180, and then in 3 months,
Yeah.
now it's almost $3,000. So that takes me to the next question: is why do you think people should invest in this kind of cryptocurrencies?
Well, first of all, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not a financial advisor. To take my advice as caution, with caution, I think you should invest with it because, or at least get into it. And one of the major reasons for Mexico is remittances, right? So there's a lot of folks from Mexico who come to the United States and they want to send their money back. Well, rather than paying 10% from Western Union or anyone else, you can just buy Bitcoin, send it to them, their Bitso account, and have it immediately converted back to Mexican pesos. That's like 2% off. I mean, 2% cut when it comes to fees by sending it with Bitcoin. I mean, it's insanely cheap compared to the current model right now, even if you just do it with yourself. So there's that. Two, hedge against inflation. You know, when I came down to Mexico, to Acapulco, the peso was like 20 pesos to $1. I was like, yes, I love buying pesos. So I bought up a bunch and I was like, yes, I feel like a king. But, you know, if you don't want that to happen to you and you don't want that volatility, especially, you know, when you have politicians north of the border say, oh, we're going to cut everyone up for coming up here, or we're going to cut every type of export from Mexico, you know, that's a good way to hedge against it with Bitcoin, because if your currency itself is volatile, Bitcoin is probably the best option for you because it's been it's been deflationary, you know, ever since its inception. So deflationary means it keeps on going up in price. Another reason is to be financially free, right? So let me drink some water. One reason is to be financially free. So when you own your own keys to your Bitcoin, Dash, Ether, Litecoin, whatever it is, you can't have a public bureaucrat come and take your money from you. You know, that is such a great way to fight against injustice of taxation, or, you know, even just saying, you know, the government's insolvent, so we have to tax everyone above a certain monetary threshold. You won't care about that anymore because all your money's in Bitcoin or, you know, Dash, or you hold physical gold, and, you know, you won't need to worry about that because they'd have to come to every single house in the nation, and which would be impossible to do. There'd be riots, there'd be civil war if they did that, and they can't take your money from you. So that's another key reason why you should, you know, at least hold some. And as people gain wider adoption of this, it gains more and more value because more and more people want it. So if you, you know, spread the good news of Bitcoin, you start getting people to accept it, you accept it for your own business, it'll only gain more value for yourself and for everyone else who holds it. So it's great. I mean, you can help your currency go up in price by just adopting it and start teaching other people about it. So another reason, and those are the reasons you should invest. It's financial freedom. It's deflationary. It keeps on going up in price because there's more and more demand of it, and you want it yourself.
Great. Yeah, I love it. I wanted.
Do you have any questions?
I wanted to invest and I couldn't, but now that I have some currencies, I really like it, especially when you can send money instantly. Also, when you can see that your money is growing in value.
Yeah.
So that's, at least you don't lose, as you explained, you don't lose the inflation rate. You know, when here in Mexico,
right,
times we lose value because of the inflation or the valuation of our peso, Mexican peso. So it's great. I know.
So do you want people to know where to go to buy Bitcoin or anything like that, to learn more about Bitcoin?
Yeah, sure. Please explain to us how they can do it.
Okay. So one of the best websites on earth is bitcoin.com. It's not owned by me. It's owned by Roger Ver, the Bitcoin Jesus himself. On there, you can go learn about how to get a wallet, what exchange to go to, the different types of wallets, whether it's on your computer, your cell phone, or a hardware-based one. You can basically learn anything you want to about Bitcoin. You can play at the Bitcoin casino there and try to earn some Bitcoin by gambling, but I don't recommend that if you want to see your money grow. But they basically have everything there, and it's a really great resource. And in Mexico in particular, the exchange you're going to use is probably Bitso. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Is that the one you use?
That's the one Roger Ver recommended me in Acapulco. I asked him, where can I buy Bitcoin here in Mexico? And he said, the best place is Bitso. And it works very, very good. I recommend it to my friends, and some are buying some currency. And we invested some in Ethereum, and it went up in price.
Yeah.
Something happened 2 days ago or 3 days ago when the Ethereum price went really down, and I read some articles about saying that it was somebody sold some Ethereum at 10 cents, so he lost a lot of money. And then the price came down because a lot of people have their computers or accounts in some exchanges program. So if there is a drop in the price, automatically they sell. And that's why the price came down from 370, 360. It went down to 290. And then it recovered, and now it's at 230, 335 today. But that I want to ask you about the risk.
Okay.
Or the risks of investing in cryptocurrencies. If there is a hacker that can take your money away, or what are you recommending?
Right. So with the GDAX exchange in particular, what these people have are automated bots to basically sell when a certain threshold is lost and buy when a certain threshold goes down. So the lowest Ethereum was sold at was 10 cents and $1. It was really, really cheap. And it really sucked for those people who sold it. But, those people who bought it, they gained a lot of money. And that's part of the risk of cryptocurrency. It's instantaneous knowledge of what's going in the market with this day and age of the internet and social media. So in particular, last year, Ethereum, there was this decentralized autonomous organization called the DAO, which was basically a venture capital fund on the Ethereum blockchain that was hacked. This guy started to take out millions and millions of dollars of Ether. And then what happened was the Ethereum community basically said, we can't accept this loss. We're going to go back and rewrite history and give everyone their money back. So that's what happened. There was a chain split because of differing philosophical ideals, and that's why you have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And that guy eventually, went off with around $30 to $50 million worth of Ether Classic tokens, because they decided, hey, you screwed up, so live with it. You should have invested in bad code. So that's one of the risks, bad code. It's not written correctly. So there's a disincentive there's an incentive to invest early, but there's also that risk. You don't actually know if it'll pan out. For instance, there's a lot of initial coin offerings for these ideas. They're basically white papers, and you're giving them a ton of money, and they don't have any type of working product at all. And it's a huge, huge risk, because you don't even know if these people will just run off with your money or what. So this happened about a week ago or so. It was on bitcoin.com, and one of the developers for Mycelium quit, and he went public about why he quit, because some of the ICO funds that were given to them to produce additional features, they basically took a trip to Spain as a vacation for the whole team. So there's a kind of a misuse of funds there. So you got to watch out who you invested, and definitely do some research on who these people are. Now, investing in just holding cryptocurrencies themselves, my biggest advice to people, wait a second, let me It's something. Let me find it. When it comes to actually physically holding your Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, a lot of you will find out that there's wallets out there that are free, whether they're through a third party or they're just on your computer or on your phone. Those are very vulnerable places to put them. And the main reason is because, third party processors are the biggest known hacks in Bitcoin, such as Mt. Gox, Bitfinex. If people are able to hack into their computer systems, which are live touching the internet, they're able to steal the funds that are there, especially with the private keys. So the best way you could store your funds are with these Bitcoin wallets. This one is a Trezor. It's about $100, and it's from the Czech Republic. You can hold Bitcoin, Dash, Zcash, and Ethereum Classic with them. And they basically talk to your computer through the USB. You have to physically press a button in order to sign off transactions. And you have to have a PIN code and all this other stuff, but you have to physically interact with this device. So no one can actually steal your money if they're on these, unless they're doing that really, really hard computations, which would, take all the computers in the world for 200 years to figure out private keys. So that's not going to be done. So this is the best way to do it. It's Trezor.io. And if you get a Bitcoin wallet and you buy a lot of Bitcoins, it's best to use this and to only use software wallets, with low amounts of money, like 1 or 2 Dash, maybe a Bitcoin, maybe not. So that's the best way to secure your Bitcoin, is holding them physically with a hardware-based wallet.
Okay, great, man. Great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you invest money in this technology, you are afraid that somehow you're gonna lose it. Other things that you can start thinking about is, if the internet is shut down, how do you access your money, right? But well, we are just talking about it and giving ideas. We are not financial advisors. We recommend everybody research this, investigate it, and make a personal decision on where to invest. All right, I have another question about what do you think about the prices of these main currencies? Where do you see the prices by the end of the year and next year? What are your predictions?
So based on what will happen August 1st with segregated witness in Bitcoin, I think it will either go up to, it'll spiral a little, it'll dip down, but then once it gets solved and figured out, it'll bounce back up. I think it'll go up to $5,000-$6,000. And maybe by the end of the year, it'll go up to 10,000, but I think it's going to stay solid around $5,000-$6,000, once the segregated witness gets activated. So that's it for Bitcoin. Ethereum, I don't follow it that much, but let's say there's a lot of negative review about all these ICOs that are starting up, and it keeps on bogging down the network, which is what has been happening for the last 2 or 3 days. I don't think it'll go over at 500. But that's just depending on how all these new initial coin offerings occur. So if they go well, unlike what's happened in the past, which I think they will, I think it'll go maybe up to 1,000. But I'm more conservative. I'd say 500 to 800. And Litecoin, I think because of the August 1st incident, everyone will be going into Litecoin from Bitcoin to make sure that their investments don't go down as much. So I think Litecoin will see an initial jump up to maybe 80, but I think it will dip back down after people start going back into Bitcoin. So I see it maybe at 100 at the end of the year, but maybe, just at 60 or 50. So there's a chance for you to score in on it soon and then sell it off when everyone's getting rid of Bitcoin or something like that. Dash, I think they're undervalued, to be honest. And I don't know specific prices, but I think it's definitely going to go up. And what they have in the plans, what they have in on their future roadmap is to basically make you an account on the blockchain. So it's just easy to send money to an address, it's a person's handle, a username.
Okay.
So they'll make it a lot easier for people to actually use Dash. So I think it'll go up to $300-400 by the end of the year. And once that feature comes out, it's called Evolution. I think it will go up to $500, maybe a Dash.
Okay. Wow. So everybody can invest in one of these currencies and make at least 20, 30, or 100% gain, right? So
Yeah,
it's amazing how you jump in the right moment, in the right time, you can make your money to grow. And because if we
definitely.
your money in pesos, there are big chances of a devaluation, and we lose money
Yeah,
investing in the peso. So it's a good choice to at least look into it, look into cryptocurrencies, and invest some money. I don't recommend to
yeah,
put all your money in there, but at least some money that you can grow. And I
yeah.
myself, and it's great to have these gains in your money. Okay, I appreciate all your comments and your explanations. Do you have any
Right,
other comment that you would like to talk about? Any idea, any final thought? And also, you can give us your
right,
contact information, Jake. If somebody wants to follow you on the web,
right,
your posts or whatever you do.
right. So my final comments are: if you have a lot of Bitcoin right now, I suggest going into Bitcoin mining, which basically means you secure the network and you get more money. You get your money back plus interest. You know, it keeps on generating you more and more, especially if you get like a lifetime plan for some of these cloud mining companies, because you can't do it physically anymore. It doesn't make any money. Um, so pool.bitcoin.com, I think is my favorite place to go for Bitcoin mining. So if you want to make more Bitcoin and you already have Bitcoin, I would advise going there. Um, Final thoughts. I think it's very volatile, cryptocurrency in general, because it's a lot of unknowns, you know. But I have hope for the future. I think it's going to be a better future. I think we're going to be able to get rid of these state-backed currencies. We won't need them anymore, and we'll be able to use all these peer-to-peer currencies, and it'll be the brand new future. And I can't wait for it to happen. You can contact me at. You can find me at jakebryan.me. I will. Yeah, I gave that to you. And you can also contact me. My email address is on there. My phone number is on there. And everything should be on there. My Twitter account, Facebook. So you can follow me there.
Jake, another question is that what services do you provide if somebody needs, I don't know, a web page or something? What are your services
Right.
that you can provide?
So if you want to know more detail about Bitcoin and just want to be, you know, guided through it more, I do provide Bitcoin consulting services. At the moment, I do develop websites for people. However, that's going to be stopping here soon. So I will only be doing Bitcoin consulting. So that's mainly the services I provide, because my new job working for Node 40, they require me to have a non-compete clause, but they allow me to teach people about Bitcoin. So,
Wow, that's great.
yeah,
Congratulations. And
yeah,
we wish you the
thanks.
best in your new job. And we will be in touch.
I,
You're very helpful, and I appreciate your friendship. And I hope to see you in Acapulco next year. Are you planning to go there?
definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, so my job's remote, so I get to live wherever I want. So I'm going to go to Europe for 3 months, and then I think I'm actually going to move down to Acapulco.
Great,
Well,
man, great.
yeah,
We welcome you here in Mexico. All right.
definitely. If I drive through Torreon, I'll come and visit you. All right.
Sure, no problem. We can have good dinner or We can go to a nice restaurant here. We have very good
Definitely.
food. So I would love to have you here. Visit me anytime you want. You already have my
Awesome.
information, and we will be in touch.
Right.
Well, I appreciate everything you did this afternoon, your time. I know time is the most valuable thing that we have, more than money. Maybe time and health for me are the most precious items in the world. Well,
no, I understand. When I saw you, I was 30 pounds heavier. I've lost, 45 pounds since the beginning of the year. I just, finding my health it's been great. And I feel so much better. And I just, I'm able to do more things. It's awesome. I look great too. So
yeah, I anytime you need, because I am very into these natural things, the food, the natural treatments.
right.
If you need anything or any advice, I have a lot of PDF files, a lot of documentaries.
Right.
On my website, I try to put a lot of what I what I see on the internet, everything that I can help people with health issues. That is my hobby.
Yeah.
I don't work full time in that, but I really like it, and I hope someday I can, help more people with that stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate it.
Thank you, August.